From Elon Musk on X, she deserves to be in prison. 750,000 views nearly. And who could he be talking about, you might ask? Well, I can probably sum this up quickly by showing you a couple of tweets of my own. But before I do that, I just want to kick this video off by showing you this amazing new feature that allows me to look so professional. It's going to be like watching Trevor McDonald on the BBC, right? Well, except the video won't be edited by a registered sex offender, okay? It's going to throw up a headline like you're at a real media organisation, and it's going to allude to what the story in question's about, all right? Are you ready? Go. Can you see that? Right then, it's a great day to be alive. The world's richest man is finally shining a light on something that you and I, people that actually pay attention, this is something that we've known for a long, long time. Anyone that's read Peter McLaughlin's book, Easy Meat, anyone that reads or watches non-state funded media, so obviously BBC and Channel 4 covered up the many hundreds of instances of gangs of swarthy gentlemen rogering children up and down the UK, while the CPS, dozens of senior politicians, mayors, civil servants, police chiefs, the College of Policing, judges, lawyers, activists, every one of them combined to hide something that went on for decades and was, as I've said many years ago, the nadir of our civilization. And this is why I pointed out correctly that we were just going to keep getting attacked post 7/7. And I said this was just going to keep happening, and it will continue to keep happening. And if they did the worst and managed to get their hands on a dirty bomb and detonate it in the middle of London and kill 100,000 people, the next day the main story and the statements from the government wouldn't be, oh look, we've just lost a staggering amount of people to an incident of terrorism. No, the government's response would be, you know what the real problem is? Sam Mellier putting stickers on lampposts. Phobias and ists and isms, that's the real problem, not the 100,000 people that we'll have to clean up. And I made that point because it's obvious, because if you won't stand up and protect women and children, well, I almost said women and children, but it's children, isn't it? If you won't protect children and stop them from being tortured and occasionally murdered, you are a morally bankrupt society. There is nothing you will stand up for. So of course they didn't do anything about mere acts of terrorism. And of course you then get things like Lee Rigby and Emily Jones and the Manchester Evening News Arena and little girls having their lives prematurely ended at a Taylor Swift dance class. Like, there's nothing more innocent and pure than that. And our government doesn't care because they're enthralled to an ideology. However, rant over, because now the good news is here. Thankfully, due to the efforts of the world's richest man, now there's nowhere they can hide. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Mr. Musk is throwing shade at some of the biggest names in British politics, and I am loving life watching them flap. So let's get into it. The aforementioned tweet, she deserves to be in prison, is about Jess Phillips, the sheep-toothed harridan who, as we all saw, was cozying up to and pandering to a big gang of beardy weirdies just before the election. So we know who her paymasters are. And I'll give you a clue, it's not you, the taxpayer. Anyway, Liz Truss tweeted, "This is Jess Phillips, the same Home Office minister who excused masked thugs," like to avoid the I word on this channel, masked thugs who love to go to the Golden Bell End Church. You know I'm on about, lads, don't you? The favourite band is Bon Jovi. Yeah, everyone knows that band. Famous for their top 10 smash, Living on a Prayer Mat. You know what about. Anyway, her title, Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women and Girls, is a perversion of the English language. It's clear whose side she's on. Brilliant that, isn't it? Yeah, I never thought I'd see the day, after 30 years of cover-ups, playing defence for the worst type of human scum. We've got a former Prime Minister and the world's richest man talking smack about Jess Phillips, not because it looks like she visits an equine dentist whenever she needs a filling, but because she's complicit in the torture and abuse of children. That's a fact. Put it out there for the world to see. May she come for me if it's not true. The British government, as everybody who pays attention knows, covered up for the same people who did, we'll just call it glitter-esque crimes, all right? They covered up for them for decades. We all know about it. Keir Starmer knew about it. The likes of Jess Phillips knew about it. And none of them said anything. And we know why. Unfortunately, we've got the receipts for that as well, haven't we? Britain Man Ideals posted this. This is a podcast of you saying the Labour Home Office in 2008 sent a circular to all police forces telling them not to get involved. Again, it's a fact. May the Lord strike me down if it proves not to be so. Incidentally, this Nazir Afzal fella was on The Spectator a couple of weeks ago, extolling the virtues of mounting your cousin. Much to my surprise, I was astounded that The Spectator would have him on to say this stuff, but yeah, that happened. Anyway, let's listen to Nazir Afzal telling us what really happened. And bear in mind, this guy, if you don't know, works for the Labour Party. He was a prosecutor for the Crown Prosecution Service. So let's listen to what he has to say about it.
You may not know this, but back in 2008, the Home Office sent a circular to all police forces in the country saying, as far as these young girls who are being exploited in towns and cities, we believe that they've made an informed choice about their sexual behaviour, and therefore it's not for you police officers to get involved in. If that's the landscape coming from the top down in 2008, rest assured, all agencies are going to listen to it. It only changed because of the work that we did and the work that the Times newspaper did in 2010-11. The fact that we were able to bring the prosecution in Rochdale led to this investigation in West Yorkshire opening. It only opened in 20...
Don't need to listen to all of it. I feel sick listening to that, man. But there it is from the horse's mouth. The CPS told police not to get involved. So when you read Easy Meat and you read the passage about the coppers pulling up in a church car park and seeing like a 12-year-old lass being forced to chew off a bloke old enough to be a granddad, the policeman said, "What's going on here, lads?" And the bloke wound the window down and said, "Ha ha, she's noshing me off," or words to that effect. And the copper just went, yeah, and drove off. That's a true story. Again, fact check it, fact check me. That happened. As Mr. Musk says, these people need locking up. Hard labour. Throw away the key. Stella Creasy, all of them. Anyone who was in government around that time, sort of 10 years either side of it, who knew about the orders the CPS was handing out to the police all across the country, should be breaking rocks. I know we don't do that anymore. Bring it back. They say we should bring back the 3 R's and free milk. No. Bring back hard labour for the snivelling, lying sacks of rats that run the United Kingdom. And then Stella Creasy, we all know Stella Creasy, don't we? Vacuous militant feminist with a face like a slapped arse. You all remember Stella Creasy. She said Tony Romo is in jail for contempt of court because he repeated false claims against a Syrian refugee. It's not a debate, it's a lie. And he tried to use it to foment anger and hatred in our society for political gain. Elon Musk appears to be doing the same. For political gain. I'm so sorry, was Tony Romo running for office, was he? Was he running for high office? And he was desperate to pip a local Labour MP at the post? No, he was just a bloke that you victimised. And Mark Stein made this point about 8 years ago. He was like, why does the British state love locking this fella up? Why? You can agree or disagree with his politics, but does he deserve to be in jail? The British government kept locking him up on trumped-up charges. It was trumped-up charges back in 2007 or whatever it was, the first time they started messing with him and raiding his house at 2 o'clock in the morning. And everything he said turned out to be true. There was organised gangs who were making sure that little girls were getting banged more than Stevie Wonder's big toe in about 20 towns up and down the country. Probably many more than that. But, you know, unlike them, I'm trying to stay on the moderate side with my guesses. Everything he said was right. He went on the BBC and got grilled by Paxman. And everything he said was right. And Nazir Afzal and whoever else, Keir Starmer, now saying, oh yeah, well, we tackled the problem, proves that he was right, doesn't it? Think about it. If you've now got a former barrister for the CPS saying, oh yeah, but at least in 2018, Keir Starmer finally started helping sort the problem out, you're admitting that everything Tony Romo said was true. So you just have to go with your gut on this. Who do you think's more likely to be telling the truth? A random bloke off the street? A working class lad? Or A professional liar. I mean, this one's not rocket science, is it? And it gets even better because the pinned tweet on Musk's account is now that. Free Tony Romo. With 114,000 likes. Shihab Khan off ITV's flapping, because he's probably got more skeletons in his closet than Pol Pot. And as Anna McGovern rightly points out, he's also now shared his documentary, Silenced, which has over 100 million views. And he's publicly criticised Starmer and the Labour Party on a platform with over 1 billion users. And it culminated in this, last updated an hour ago. It's now the top trending story in the UK. High-profile individuals like Elon Musk have publicly supported Tony Romo's release, criticising the handling of grooming gangs and mentioning former Director of Public Prosecutions Keir Starmer's role during the period these crimes were prevalent. There's a push for a national inquiry into how these cases were managed, highlighted by Conservative politician Kemi Badenoch. Prevalent? Well, I have issue with that because they're still prevalent, aren't they? They're still prevalent. They're still going on now. And they're still turning a blind eye to it now. And they still treated all the BLM rioters with kid gloves when they caused hundreds of millions of pounds worth of damage, but locked up a load of grannies and heartbroken pensioners who were upset because a load of little girls got killed by an imported Rwandan criminal, and they crushed their throats with their iron-shod boots and sent them all to prison for years while ignoring the 500 hairy-arsed fellas rampaging through the likes of Birmingham and London, setting things on fire, and none of them got sent to prison because, you know, they look like they've been on the tanning tubes for a bit, so we'll just ignore them. And finally, if you go to Jess Phillips' page, no mention of the fact that she's getting butchered by Elon Musk and a former Prime Minister. No mention. It's not happening. Please support the Mirror's Christmas appeal. And I think we'll end with Alex Armstrong's tweet. There are so many clips of Jess Phillips compulsively lying and using sexual assault to play politics. It's actually sickening, as it's announced that she's rejected the Oldham request for a grooming gang inquiry. Disgraceful. It's only 44 seconds long. Let's listen to it. Come on, sheep teeth, lie to me.
I think that what I will not let happen is for the far right to use the exploitation of vulnerable girls in this country and what happened in Cologne for their own ends when they've done absolutely nothing about sexual violence and the culture of sexual assault until it fits their purpose.
So there we go. Jess Phillips saying that the far right are only interested in doing anything about sexual violence and sexual assault when it suits their own ends. I think the question has to be asked after we have a look at what Jess Phillips said in response to Oldham Council, whether the Labour Party is now guilty of avoiding dealing with the grooming gang scandal.
Now guilty? They've been guilty for 30 years, love. So that's it. That's a nice summation of the events of the last 24 hours. Phillips should be breaking rocks alongside dozens of high-ranking Labour MPs. They were complicit in the torture and abuse of children for many, many years. And now, thanks to the world's richest man, everyone on planet Earth knows about it. So, brilliant, we'll take that. That's a win. I know the Orange Oracle's going to have his work cut out undoing the nightmarish scenario he's been left by the shambling, piss-sodden shell of a man that some people choose to call President Biden. But maybe he can just spare a little bit of his time to do his pals across the pond a solid by getting that slimy, oily little robot Starmer in a headlock and saying to him, "Here, if you don't start actually prosecuting people from third world nations and deporting the ones that appear to display affection for blowing themselves up and redecorating concert arenas in brain matter grey, I'm going to bite your ear off." If you could just do that, we'll all be happier. But that's just what I think. If you think it's all lies, Tony Romo definitely deserves to be in prison because he filled out a mortgage application wrong. But the blokes getting chewed off by 10-year-olds definitely shouldn't be in prison. You let me know in the comments so I can pass your name along to my local police chief and have you placed on the sex offenders register. Okay, thanks for tuning in, ladies and gents. See you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.